Good day, ma'am. I'm Christian Gabika, and today I'm gonna report the part 2 of Vice and Drug Education and Control. So let's start. Vice and Drug Education and Control. Relevant laws and jurisprudence on prostitution, smoking, alcoholism, and gambling. Prostitution is often called the oldest profession in the world, and records of prostitution exist since the beginning of the recorded history. Prostitution today, although controlled and against the law in most countries, but still legal in some other countries. In some countries, the laws are designed to combat the so-called commercialized type of prostitution. Definition terms: prostitution, an act or practice of a woman who engage or habitual in sexual intercourse for money or profit. Prostitute, a woman who engage in discriminate sexual intercourse or acts with males for hire. White slavery, the one who provides gratification for the lust of others, a male procurer or clients for a prostitute. Organized crime includes gambling, prostitution, and dope, narcotics, and other illegal or dubious businesses. Whores or knockers, it is a name often used of all types of prostitute. Two basic reasons why prostitute must be suppressed: control of venereal disease, prevent organized crime. The causes of prostitution: poor social background and personal handicaps are some of the bases for drift into prostitution. Previous sexual experience, love for money and luxury on the part of the prostitute, lack of restraining check from neighbors, social environments, and laxity of social control must, as such, agency for religious training and reforms. Influence of contraceptives and preventive treatment for venereal diseases. Efforts to support another vices such as drug addiction and alcoholism. For the unwilling prostitute, they are victims of white slave traffic such as kidnapping, keeping them under physical restraint, forcible abduction of women, and the victims of crimes against chastity. Social causes of prostitution such as broken families, anonymity of city life, poverty in others. RA number 10158, an act decriminalizing vagrancy, amending for this purpose Article 202 of Act number 3815 as amended, others known as Revised Penal Code. In Section 1, Article 202 of the Revised Penal Code is hereby amended to read as follows. Article 202. Prostitutes. Penalty for the purpose of this article: women who for money or profit habitual indulge in the sexual intercourse or lascivious conduct are deemed to be prostitutes. Any person found guilty of any of the offenses covered by this article shall be punished by arresto menor or a fine not exceeding 200 pesos. And in a case of recidivism, by arresto mayor in its medium period to prison correctional in its minimum period, or a fine ranging from 200 to 2,000 pesos, or both, in the discretion of the court. So smoking or tobacco. Tobacco use is an important behavior risk factor that is responsible for 12% of male deaths and 6% of female deaths in the world. Exposure to secondhand smoke is estimated to cause more than 6,000 premature deaths annually. This includes 166,000 deaths from lower respiratory infections, 35,800 from asthma, and 1,100 from asthma in children, 21,000 from lung cancer, and 379,000 from ischemic heart disease in adults. This disease burden amounts in total of about 10.9 million disability adjusted life years. Of all deaths attributable to secondhand smoker, 28% occur in children and 47% in women. Tobacco use is the leading cause of preventable death, and it's estimated to kill more than 5 million persons each year worldwide. Tobacco use and exposure to secondhand smoke pose a major public health problem in the Philippines. Effective tobacco control policies are enshrined in the World Health Organization Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, a legal binding international treaty that has ratified by the Philippines in 2005 since 2007. Since then, despite of the strong lobbying of the tobacco industry, the country has successfully passed the Republic Act 9211, Tobacco Regulation Act of 2003. This act was designed to promote a healthy environment and protect citizens from the hazard of tobacco smoke. Inform of the public of the health risks associated with cigarette smoking and tobacco use. Regulate and subsequently ban all tobacco advertisement and sponsorships, except at point of sale. Regulate labeling of tobacco products, and protect young people from being initiated to cigarette smoking and tobacco use through access restriction. The action packed presidential issuance from President Rodrigo Duterte signed in 16 May 16, 2017. Executive Order Number 26, other known as Nationwide Smoking Ban. It must be clarified that this executive issuance is not entirely new. It takes off from where the not so new Republic Act 9211. The Executive Order 26 provides for the establishment of smoke-free environments in public and enclosed spaces. It covers all public and enclosed places found within the territorial jurisdiction of the Philippines. Smokers and persons caught violating EO 26 will be punished under the penal clauses of existing laws, particularly Section 32 of Republic Act No. 9-11. Alcoholism. Alcoholism is the state of condition of a person produced by drinking intoxicating liquors excessively and with habitual frequency. It is a condition wherein a person is under the influence or intoxicated with alcohol. His physical condition and behavior has been modified to a certain extent by the effects of alcohol. Alcohol use is the most commonly used psychoactive substance in the world and is one of the leading causes of death and disability. The data from the WHO indicates that almost 9% of the Philippines population who are 15 years of age and older, estimated at 86 million, have an alcohol use disorder. In addition, 25% of males and 8.3% of females aged 15 to 85 years are heavily episodic drinkers. Alcohol abuse causes 3.2% of all deep psychoactivity and also accounts for 4.0 of the global disease burden each year. Research has shown that alcohol use is associated with alcohol addiction, other drug use, unintentional injuries, physical fighting, criminal activity, attempt, suicide, ideation, and attempts, suicide ideation and attempts, and increased risk of HIV and AIDS. 5 common causes of alcoholism: environment, age, mental health, combining substances, family history. Relevant laws in alcoholism. Presidential Decree number 691 penalizing the use or possession or the unauthorized sale to minors of volatile substances for the purpose of inducing and intoxicating or any manner changing, distorting, or disturbing the auditory, visual, and mental process. Section 2. The use or possession of volatile substances for the purpose of inhalation or induce or produce intoxication or any of the conditions described in the preceding section shall be punished by imprisonment ranging from 6 months and 1 day to 4 years, and a fine ranging from 600 to 4,000 pesos, provided, however, that the provision of Article 4 entitled Rehabilitative Confine and Suspension of Sentence of Act Number 6425 as amended, other known as the Dangerous Drug Act of 1972, shall whenever appropriate apply to the cases arising hereunder. Section 6. The sale of and offer to sell to minors of liquors or beverages containing alcoholic content of 30% or above, 60 proof or above, is hereby prohibited. House Bill 1753, also known as Anti-Underage Drinking Act. The measure refers to unqualified individuals as person under 21 years of age or those 21 years but old but are unable to fully take care of themselves or protect themselves from abuse, neglect, cruelty, exploitation, or discrimination because of the physical or mental disability or condition. RA number 10586, Anti-Drunk and Drunk Driving Act of 2013. The law covers all acts of driving in or operating a motor vehicle while under the influence of alcohol and or dangerous drugs and similar substance. Gambling, the betting or staking of something or value with consciousness of risk and hope of gain on the outcome of the game, a contest or an uncertain event whose result may be determined by chance or accident or have an unexpected result by reason of the bettor's miscalculation. Illegal number games. Illegal number games are defined are defined in this amendment as all forms of illegal gambling, such as, but not limited to, cockfighting, weteng, masyo, lasto, jay-alay, and horse racing that includes bookie operations and game fixings, numbers, bingo, non-government issue lotteries, and any other games of chance. It also states that any game of chance or game of skill that is not in a compliance and licensed by their respected regulatory agencies are considered illegal. Relevant laws in gambling. Presidential Decree Number 1602 prescribing stiffer penalties on illegal gambling. The Republic Act 9287, an act increasing penalties for illegal number games, amending certain provision of the Presidential Decree Number 1602, and for other purposes. The PD 510, law on slot machine. The PD 449, illegal cockfighting. PD 483, game fixing and sport contests. PD 1306, jay-alay bookies. RA 363, horse racing bookie. Article 912, Article 195 to Article 199, RPC forms of gambling and betting. Rule 13, Section 21. PNP Rules and Regulation. Philippine Decree 765, Gambling. No member of the PNP shall engage in any form of gambling prohibited by law. Section 823 RO, gambling dens or maintainer or operator. Section 824 RO, gambling devices, possession of pinball. Section 827 RO, gambling or players. Section 828 RO, mahjong, regulated games. Section 830 RO, betting in athletic contests. Section 831 RO, illegal cockfighting or topada. The dangerous drugs. History of marijuana. Marijuana, also known as cannabis or pot, has a long history of human use. Most ancient cultures didn't grow a plant to get high, but as a herbal medicine, likely starting in Asia around 500 BC. The history of cannabis cultivation in America dates back to the early colonies who grew hemp for textile and rope. The cannabis or hemp plant originally evolved in Central Asia before people introduced the plant into Africa, Europe, and eventually the Americas. Hemp fiber was used to make clothing, paper, sails, and rope, and its seeds were used as food. In the 1830s, Sir William Brooke O'Shaughnessy, an Irish doctor studying in India, found that cannabis extracts could help lessen stomach pain and vomiting in people suffering from cholera. By the late 1800s, cannabis extracts were sold in pharmacies and doctors' offices throughout Europe and the United States to treat stomach problems and other ailments. Recreational weed. An ancient Greek historian named Herodotus described the Ishantians, a larger group of Iranians, nomads in Central Asia, inhaling the smoke from smoldering cannabis seeds and flowers to get high. In the United States, marijuana wasn't widely used for recreational purposes until the early 900s. Immigrants from Mexico to the United States during the tumultuous years of the Mexican Revolution introduced the recreational practice of smoking marijuana in American culture. Massive unemployment and social unrest during the Great Depression stoked resentment in Mexican immigrants and public fear of the evil weed as a result. And consistent with the Prohibition era's view of all intoxicants, 29 states had outlawed cannabis by 1931. Weed characteristics: reproduce in many ways: sexual seed and sexual parts of the plant resprout. Produce many weeds, produce small seeds. Produce many seeds, produce small seeds. The seeds have fancy ways of getting carried around, float on air or water, stick to the animals, and many others. If you try to pull them, they break off and resprout. Roots or stems from rhizomes or runners. They are hardly generalized and can live almost anywhere. They grow fast compared to the crop plants. Their seeds may stay dormant in the soil for long periods. Effect of marijuana. Some of the common effects on physical health from cannabis use include a higher likelihood of developing bronchitis when a person smokes it, more phlegm when a person smokes it, lung irritation from irritants including some carcinogens such as accidental burning the mouth of or throat when smoking. A weakened immune system. A weakened immune system due to the effects of tetrahydrocannabinol, which is main psychoactive chemical in cannabis. Pain relief. Reduction in vomiting and nausea. Faster heart rate by 20 to 50 beats per minute. Red eyes from the increase in blood flow. Relief from symptoms of glaucoma from short periods. Aggravation of existing lung condition such as asthma when a person smokes it. Potential interference with tumor growth. Interference with fetal development during pregnancies. Interference with brain development among teenagers. Crystal meth or shabu. Methamphetamine is a powerful, high addictive stimulant that affects the central nervous system. Crystal meth is a form of a drug that looks like glass fragments or shiny blushing white rocks. It is chemically similar to amphetamine, a drug used to treat attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or ADHD and narcolepsy, a sleep disorder. Short history of methamphetamine is not a new drug, although it has become more powerful in recent years as techniques for its manufacture have evolved. Amphetamine was first made in 1887 in Germany, and methamphetamine, more potent and easy to make, was developed in Japan in 1919. The crystalline powder has soluble in water, making it a perfect candidate for injection. Methamphetamine went into wide use during World War II, when both sides used it to keep troops awake. High doses were given to the Japanese kamikaze pilots before their suicide mission, and after the war, meth abuse by injection reached epidemic proportion when supplies stored for military use became available to the Japanese public. In the 1950s, meth was described as a diet aid in a fight to depression. Easily available, it was used as a non-medical stimulant by college students, truck drivers, and athletes, and abuse of the drug spread. This pattern changed markedly in the 1960s with the increased availability of injectable methamphetamine worsening and the abuse. Short-term effect. Taking even small amounts of meth can result in many of same health effects as those of other stimulants such as cocaine and amphetamines. These include increased wakefulness and physical activity, decreased appetite, faster breathing, rapid and or irregular heartbeat, increased blood pressure and body temperature. Long-term effects. Long-term effects of methamphetamine use has many other negative consequences, including extreme weight loss, addiction, severe dental problems, intense itching leading to skin sores from scratching, anxiety, changes in brain structure and functions, confusion, memory loss, sleeping problems, violent behavior, paranoia, extreme and unreasonable distrust of others, hallucination, sensation and image that seem real though they aren't. Methylene dioxymethamphetamine, MDM or MDM. Short history of MDM or ecstasy or Molly. German chemists originally synthesized MDM or ecstasy for pharmaceutical purposes in 1912. During the Cold War, the CIA experimented with MDM as a psychological weapon. Ecstasy had become a popular party drug by the late 1980s, and its recreational use is often associated with rave culture, dance parties, and electronic music festivals. Despite the illicit drugs' legal status, some medical researchers now believe MDM could have therapeutic benefits, particularly among people with PTSD, depression, and other behavioral issues. German chemists discovered methylene dioxymethamphetamine or MDM in 1912 while developing other medicine that could stop bleeding. The substance they discovered had unique psychoactive properties. During the Cold War, both the U.S. Army and the CIA experimented with MDM and other hallucinogenic drugs as weapon. Therapeutic use of MDM. In the 1970s, some psychiatrists began using MDM as a psychotherapeutic tool. They thought it made their patients more willing to communicate and participate in the psychotherapy process. Therapists called the drug Adam because they felt it returned the patients to a more innocent state. But the 1980s, ecstasy or Molly had become more widely known as a party drug. In 1984 article, the San Francisco Chronicle called the drug the UP psychedelic because it was supposedly milder and less dangerous than LSD. In 1985, as part of war on drugs, the United States outlawed MDM under the Controlled Substance Act as a Schedule 1 drug like marijuana, LSD, and heroin, meaning it had a high potential for abuse and no real medical value. MDM is usually taken as a pill, capsule, or tablet. Pills can be different colors, and they sometimes have cartoon-like image or words printed on them. Effects on ecstasy. Ecstasy and Molly have properties similar to both a stimulant and hallucinogen. It takes about 15 minutes for ecstasy to enter the bloodstream and reach the brain. Ecstasy effects typically last 3 to 6 hours. Users may experience a sense of euphoria and a surge in energy or activity level while using ecstasy. The drug also triggers hormones in a brain that can increase feelings of sexual arousal, trust, and emotional closeness and empathy with other ecstasy users. Ecstasy can cause spikes in heart rate and blood pressure, which can be dangerous for the people with heart or blood vessel problems. Ecstasy also raises core body temperature. The drug can interfere with a user's ability to tell they're becoming overheated. The risk of ecstasy deaths increases in hot environment such as crowded nightclubs or outdoor music venues. Yet, even at normal temperatures, ecstasy can kill by overheating the body. Cocaine. It is a stimulant drug that made from the leaves of the South America coca plant. For 1,000 of years, indigenous people in the Amazon rainforest and Andes mountains have chewed coca leaves to get an energetic high. European scientists first isolated cocaine from coca leaves in 1850s. Once lauded as a medical wonder drug, expert now recognize cocaine as one of the most addictive substances on the earth. German chemist Albert Neumann isolated cocaine from coca leaves in 1860. He noticed that the powdery white substance made his tongue feel numb. Around the same time, French chemist Angelo Meriani concocted a tonic made from Bordeaux wine and coca leaves. He called it Vin Mariani. Advertisement claimed that popular drink could restore health and vitality. Illicit cocaine appears as a white crystalline powder. It may mix with flour, baking soda, cornstarch, or other substance to increase profits and dilute the potency. Other substances often mixed with cocaine include amphetamines or procaine to make it feel more potent. The synthetic opioids like fentanyl, powder cocaine can be snorted or combined with water and injected intravenously. Cocaine can be also be further processed to create a smokable form known as crack cocaine, which looks like small rocks or crystal. The, co- the cocaine sends high levels of dopamine, a natural chemical messenger in your body, into the parts of your brain that control pressures. This build up causes intense feelings of energy and alertness called high. Short-term effect of cocaine: extreme sensitivity to touch, sound, and sight. Extend intense happiness, anger, and irritability. Paranoia. Decreased appetite. People who use cocaine often may also like more serious side effects and health problems like headaches, convulsions and seizures, health disease, heart attack and stroke, mood problems, sexual trouble, lung damage, HIV or hepatitis if you inject it, bowel, bowel decay if you swallow it, loss of smell, nosebleeds, runny nose, and trouble swallowing if you snore it. More frequently, doses can also cause long-term changes in the brain's chemistry. The body and the mind begin to rely on the drugs. This can make it harder to think, sleep, and recall things from memory. The reaction time may be slower, and you're at risk for more heart, stomach, and lung problems. The history of opium. Opium. The opium, the opium poppy was native to what is now Turkey. Ancient Assyrian herb. Lists and medical texts refer to both the opium poppy plant and opium. And in the 1st century, the Greek physician Dioscorides described opium in the treatise De Materia Medica, which was the leading Western text on pharmacology for centuries. The growth of poppies for their opium content spread slowly eastward from Mesopotamia to Greece. Opium was for many centuries and principal painkiller known to medical and was used in various forms of under various names. Laudanum, for example, was an alcoholic tincture dilute solution of opium that was used in European medical practice was analgesic and sedative. Physicians relied on the paregoric, a comprorated solution of opium, to treat diarrhea and relaxing the gastrointestinal tract. Opium poppy pods hold a milky substance called latex that contains a number of chemicals, including morphine and codeine. Latex is extracted from the opium pods and dried to create opium. Typically, it is further refined by boiling and drying again. Opium is sticky dark brown gum with a strong odor. It can also be manufactured into liquid or powder. Short-term effects of opium: euphoria, relaxation, analgesia, slower or swallowing breathing, lower heart rate, impaired reflexes, temporary constipation, loss of appetite. Long-term effects of opium. Tolerance. Needing to use more to get the same effect. Irregular periods and difficulty having children. Loss of sex drive. Constipation. Dependence on opium. Heroin. Before it became a popular recreation drug, heroin was used in medical until its addictive properties became known. In the 1890s, German pharmaceutical company Bayer marketed heroin as a morphine substitute and suppressant cough suppressant. Bayer promoted heroin for use in children suffering from cough and colds. Partly as a result of these medical treatments, by the early 1900s, heroin addiction in the United States and Western Europe had skyrocketed. Black tar heroin. Black tar heroin is a form of heroin that is dark orange or brown. It can be sticky and tar-like or hard like coal. Since the mid-1990s, black tar heroin has been the main type of heroin available west of Mississippi River. The traditional white powder form dominates the eastern half of the United States. Black tar heroin typically comes from the Mexico, while powder heroin is often imported into United States from Colombia. Effects of heroin. The main effects of heroin, which usually last for 3 or 5 hours, included intense pleasure and pain relief, relaxation, drowsiness and clumsiness, confusion, feeling of detachment, slurred and slow speech, slow breathing and heartbeat, dry mouth, tiny pupils, reduced appetite and decreased sex drive. Long-term effects of heroin: intense sadness, irregular period and difficult having children, no sex drive, erectile dysfunction and infertility in men, constipation, dental issues, damaged heart, lungs, liver and brain, vein damage in skin, heart and lung infection from injecting, needing to use more and get the same effect, dependence on heroin, financial and work or social problem. Morphine. Morphine was first isolated between 1803 and 1805 by German pharmacist Friedrich Sertoni. This is generally believed to the first isolation of inactive ingredients from a plant. Merck began marketing it commercially in 1827. Morphine was more widely used after the invention of hypodermic syringe in 1853 to 1855. Sir Turner originally named a substance morphium after the Greek gods of dreams, Morpheus, as it has a tendency to cause sleep. The drug can be taken in a form of a tablet, syrup, or injection. In some cases, morphine can be smoked. Morphine is a morphine alkaloid that is highly potent opiate analgesic, a psychoactive drug. Morphine acts directly on the central nervous system to relieve pain but has a high potential for addiction, with tolerance in both physical and psychological dependence developing rapidly. Common effects of morphine include euphoria, pain relief, sleepiness or unusual drowsiness, reduced anxiety, false or unusual sense of well-being, relax, or calm feeling. Long-term side effects of morphine. Prolonged morphine use can be lead to many negative side effects, but not less of which is addiction. Other damaging effects include damaging of veins and injection site and substance-induced mood disorder like depression. Depression. Uh, Depression, suppressed immune system, restlessness, severe constipation, collapsed vein, confusion. Factors that cause of drug use dependence and selling or transporting of drugs. Drug abuse affect almost all countries of the world. In the Philippines, it has reached epidemic proportion and it's one of the top priorities of the government agendas. The prevalence of illegal drug in the Philippines has not been accurately determined. However, estimate by the UN UNODC showed that an annually prevalence for marijuana is 3.5%, amphetamine type stimulants 2.8%, and ecstasy 0.1% of the population above 15 years of age. According to the International Narcotics Controls Strategy Report 2003, it is estimated that there are 1.8 million drug users in the Philippines, which is equivalent to 2.2% of the population. There are a variety of factors that influence illegal drug prevalence in the Philippines, namely geographical factors that make patrolling and protecting the country from smugglers of methamphetamine and planters of marijuana difficult. Economic factors such as poverty. Causes of drug uses. Like many mental health disorders, severe factors may contribute to development of drug addiction. The main factors are: first, environment. Environmental factors, including your family, belief and attitudes, and exposure to a peer group that encourage drug use, seem to play a role in initial drug use. Second is genetics. Genetics. Once you've started using a drug, the development into addiction may be influenced by inherited traits, which may delay or speed up the disease progression. Drug dependence. Drug dependence occurs when you need one or more drugs to function. The American Psychiatric Association, or APA, used to distinguish between dependence and abuse. The APA replaced dependence and abuse with substance use disorder in the 2013 edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. This diagnosis focus on the disorder involving the use of substance dependence. It is possible to dependent on drug without being addicted. Dependence can be bodily response to a substance. This often occurs if you rely on medication to control a chronic medical condition. This condition may include high blood, diabetes, and glaucoma. Dependence may involve some or all symptoms of addiction, development of high tolerance for substance as your body adapts to the drug, leading to a desire for a larger or more frequent doses. Physical symptoms of withdrawal when you attempt to stop using the drugs. How drug abuse can lead dependence. The National Institute on Drug Abuse trusted source estimated 2.2 million Americans need help treating a drug or alcohol problem. In some cases, people may take a prescription medication for pain and other medical condition. This kind of use can sometimes develop into a substance use disorder. The following are known triggers for substance use disorder: having a family history of addiction, living in an environment where illegal drugs are often used and easy to access, having a history of anxiety, having a history of depression, having a history of other mental health condition, drug selling, dealing or transporting of drugs. A drug dealer is an individual who sells drugs of any type or quantity illegally. They can be small-time dealers who sell small quantities to offset the cost of use, their own drug use, or they can be highly organized groups and business people within high organized operation that run like a serious business. Traditionally, drug dealers are when as a key part of the problem of addiction in our communities. There is often a lot of overlap with pushing controlled drugs such as marijuana, heroin, meth, and cocaine. Cost of drug and selling or death. Unemployed, poverty, demand of drugs, easy money, and power. Relevant and important provision of RA 9165 as amended by RA 10604, 10640, Republic Act number 10640. An act to further strengthening the anti-drug campaigning of the government, amending for the purposes Section 21 of Republic Act number 9165, otherwise known as the Comprehensive Dangerous Drug Act of 2002. Section 1. Section 21 of Republic Act number 9165, otherwise known as the Comprehensive Dangerous Drug Act of 2002, is hereby amended to read as follows. Section 21. Custody and disposition of confiscated, seized, and or surrendered dangerous drugs, plants, sources of dangerous drugs, control procurers and essential chemicals, instruments, paraphernalia, and or laboratory equipment. The PDEA shall take charge and have custody of the all dangerous drugs, plant sources of dangerous drugs, control procurers, and essential chemicals, as well as instrument, paraphernalia, or laboratory equipment so confiscated, seized, and or surrendered for property disposition in the following manner. The apprehending team having essential custody and control of the dangerous drugs, control precursors and essential chemicals, instrument and paraphernalia, and or laboratory equipment shall immediately after seizure and confiscation conduct a physical inventory of seized items and photograph the same in the presence of the accused or a persons whom such item were confiscated and or seized, or her representative or counsel with an elected public official and representative of the National Prosecution Service, or the media who shall be required to sign the copies of the inventory and be given a copy thereof, provided that the physical inventory and photograph shall be conducted at the place where the search warrant is served, or at the nearest police station, or at the nearest police of the apprehending officer team, whichever is practicable in case of warrantless arrest. provided finally that non-compliance of these requirements under justifiable grounds, as long as the integrity and the inventory value of seized items are properly preserved by the apprehending officer or team, shall not render void and invalid such seizure and custody other said items. A certification of forensic laboratory examination result, which shall be done by the forensic laboratory examiner, shall be issued immediately upon the receipt of the subject items, provided that when the volume of dangerous drugs, plant sources and dangerous drugs and controlled precursors and essential chemical does not allow the completion of testing within the time frame. A partial laboratory examination report shall be provisionally issued stating therein the quantities of dangerous drug is still to be examined by the forensic laboratory, provided however that a final certificate shall be issued immediately upon completion of an said examination and certification. So that's all. Thank you and God bless. That's all.